What's going on, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Jake and Joe Bengals preview show presented by First Star Logistics, the last one of the 2025 season. We're recording this on New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year to all of you out there who've been with us all year, or if you're new to the program, welcome on in to the Jake and Joe preview show, where we cover the biggest stories going on with the Cincinnati Bengals and what we're looking for from this team every week, which has been a different conversation since the Bengals have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs for a couple of weeks, much earlier than we've been used to with this team. And that will again be the conversation today, what we're looking for and what matters in this Week 18 game. As always, we're presented by First Star Logistics here on the preview show, and they've been a fantastic partner for Joe and I throughout the process. They are putting up 2 shows a week with Joe and myself on this YouTube channel. You get the preview show, you get the post-game show. On the post-game show, we've got awesome stuff to give away every week. This week, it's going to be a Bengals wrapped Nintendo Switch. We've done autographed memorabilia this year. We've done a lot of gaming systems like this. So awesome place for you to throw your name in the ring for a chance to win one of these awesome prizes from First Star Logistics. And if you want to take it a step further, maybe you think First Star Logistics just sounds like a sweet place to work because they're a great partner for Joe and I. You like the Bengals stuff they're doing. Well, why not check out the job opportunities? And maybe it's a good fit for you, especially if you've got some logistics experience, or if you just want to get into that line of work. They're looking to expand their brokerage department, one of the fastest growing companies in the Cincinnati area, one of the best companies to work for in the Cincinnati area. You can check out all their job postings at firststarlogistics.com. Joe, today we dive into a Battle of Ohio that is being played for pride, being played for evaluation purposes, I guess you could say, being played because it is on the schedule and they have to play the football game. Neither of these teams really playing for a whole lot at this point. The Browns trying to figure out if Shedeur Sanders should, in fact, be on their roster in the future. Myles Garrett trying to get a sack record. The Bengals trying to prevent Myles Garrett from getting a sack record. And those are the big stories, right? We're looking to see if this offensive line growth that we've seen since Joe Burrow's return, since the bye week, the Scott Peters magic, this offensive line development, the guys playing better, is going to stick against the best defensive line they've played in quite a while.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago when we were doing one of the preview shows and we were talking about Myles Garrett. Just quickly, we mentioned him. We're like, oh, yeah, he'll have that sack record by week 18. We're not worried about it. And as every week's going, as every week approached, I was like, damn, he still doesn't have it yet. I don't want that to happen. Number one, I don't want him to get it. I really like Myles Garrett, even though he's a Brown, right? Like I have thought for years he was the best defensive player in football. Even when TJ Watt was winning the award, I'm like, no, Garrett was better than him this year. There was one where Aaron Donald won it, and I'm like, nope, Garrett was better than him. So I've been a defender of him. I still don't want to see him get that. I wanted to see him get it the last 3 weeks. Sure. Now I'm like, I'm out. I don't want him to be the sack record. And that's after, I don't know if you watched the Strahan getting that sack against Brett Favre, and Favre of like naked boots slides. I watched that live as a kid and thought, that's cheap, right?
I feel like I saw that live too.
I feel like everyone feels like because they've played it so many times. I don't want to. Right. So I don't want that to last for 30 years as they're showing Joe Burrow getting sacked by Myles Garrett, right? It's like everyone's going to know that sack and that play forever. And Orlando Brown's been on a heater. He's been pretty good at this, it's just 1 snap per game, it feels like. I want to see that matchup now. I want to see this Bengals offensive line versus Myles Garrett. I just don't want it to happen. It's like goal number 1. I feel like it's been for the last few offenses that have played the Browns to just like, do not let this happen.
At least it's a different approach than it was for Strahan, where Favre just gave it to him.
He did.
I would rather Burrow just give it to him than get blown up.
I think I would too. You're right.
Between those days, I don't want to see Orlando Brown on the Myles Garrett career highlight reel. I want to see Joe Burrow like running over toward Myles Garrett and be like, all right, you got me. You can touch me down. Good job, Myles. Now you don't have to blow me up as hard the rest of the game. I blame a couple of just streaks of relatively poor play for Myles' productivity standards, he went 4 weeks from week 3 through the 4th game of the season for the Browns, from Green Bay to Pittsburgh, where he had a total of a half sack. He had a half sack in week 3, and then he went 3 straight games against Detroit, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh with no sacks. Then he had 5 against New England at the
That's
end of
right.
October. Then he had 4 against Baltimore in the middle of November, 3 against Las Vegas. Still calling him Oakland. That's crazy. The next week, also in November. And so of his 22, 12 of them in 3 games. Pretty crazy.
Can he
And
win Defensive Player of the Year if he doesn't get this record? The Browns have a losing season, right? Because wasn't it, we talked about this with Hendrickson last year. It wasn't 21 and a half sacks, it was 17 and a half. But the Bengals defense wasn't good. The Bengals didn't make the playoffs. So yeah, it has to go to Pat Surtain. Can he still get it if he doesn't get the record?
who else is
I don't
contending
know.
this
I
year?
know.
I
It
feel
seems like
he's
people
kind of running away
foregone
with
gave
it.
it to Myles Garrett.
I don't even there's no one else. There's no defensive tackle this year. There's no one close for sacks. Like, if there's somebody close for sacks, maybe you can make a Will Anderson argument. Would
Sure.
be my
That
thought,
defense, right?
the best player on the best defense in the league. I don't think that there's a linebacker. I don't think that there's a corner. There's no corner having the year that. Yeah, I don't know who else you would give it to. That's the problem. Kyle Hamilton had an argument for a while. I don't think that argument
He
exists
slipped
anymore.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just Myles Garrett's forward. I don't know. But Orlando Brown has historically played some of his, this isn't really fair, most challenging football against Myles Garrett. That is not a matchup that you like Orlando Brown in. Orlando Brown isn't one of the 2 people on earth who can slow down Myles Garrett by
Who
himself.
are the 2 people?
I would
Wirfs?
say Tristan Wirfs
Okay.
and Trent Williams would be the 2.
And he killed Trent, right? Wasn't it this year? He made Trent look old and slow.
A couple times, but Trent also had some reps where he was okay.
And Trent's getting
held up.
older. Prime
Yeah.
Trent would have been like a physical matchup for Myles Garrett, like
Yeah.
just absolute freak show.
Yeah, now I guess it's like for guys in their prime, it's probably just Wirfs. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that I would put in that ballpark as a pass blocker.
Speaking of, I don't know if you saw this tweet. The Bengals offensive line ranks PFF pass blocking grades. I did this yesterday. Orlando Brown over the last 6 weeks has the 5th best pass blocking grade of all offensive tackles in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, he takes a lot of flack, but he generally is pretty good.
I agree.
That's the matchup, though, that we're watching very closely this week. This Browns defense historically gives the Bengals so many problems. And one of the things that matters in this game is how much this offensive line, this 6 weeks, 7 weeks of offensive line play we've seen, holds up now, getting tested by Alex Wright across from Myles Garrett, obviously benefiting from the amount
Solid
of talent.
player. They extended him.
Yeah, and he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but benefiting from the amount of talent on the Browns defensive line. Malik Collins won't be playing, so at least there's that. For the Bengals, that's one thing in terms of this matchup that breaks their way, but Mason Graham has come on quite a bit in terms of winning as a pass rusher. So now you've got Myles Garrett to deal with, and you're sliding to him every single play. And then on the other side, you got Alex Wright probably getting a one-on-one, and you probably like your tackles to a pretty strong degree in that one-on-one with Alex Wright. The Bengals tackles have been really good in the last few weeks in pass protection, as you're talking about. But then you got to deal with Mason Graham on the inside too. And again, Dylan Fairchild, Ted Karras, Dalton Reisner, those guys have been good too. The entire offensive line has been good. But this is also a different level of competition than they've seen in recent years.
I would say Michael Hall as well. That's an athletic defensive tackle, former second-round pick. We talked about him a ton last year's draft, 2024. Has been okay. He's had his moments, and his athleticism definitely shows up on tape, despite him not being good against the run at all.
Yeah. And the first time these teams played, Isaiah McGuire killed the Bengals. And weirdly, he hasn't played a ton in the last few weeks for the Browns. His playing time has dropped off. But I would put him on the field if I was the Browns. I'd be trying to keep those guys fresh because McGuire was successful the first time around. And then behind that, you got the Jim Schwartz defense. So it would be nice to see, and the Bengals have handled it at home, but they're pretty healthy Browns team right now, as far as I know. Devin Bush is a guy that we're maybe going to be talking about as a potential free agent target if he
I'm
makes it to
interested.
free agency. I don't
Mhm.
know what he's going to get paid, but he's put together a season and a half of really good football for the Browns. Maybe the light bulb just came on for him. He's just 27 years old, was a guy that had a strong pedigree as a draft prospect, was really athletic, a little bit smaller than you would like a prototypical linebacker to be, but it hasn't impacted him this year. Short, not small player right there in Devin Bush, and generally pretty healthy at every level of this defense right now. And in week 18, I feel like that's been rare for the Browns, but if Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Mike Gesicki, offensive line, Chase Brown, if they can put together another game like we've seen the last couple of weeks against some pretty bad defenses, and this goes
Mhm.
back to the Bills, even not a great defense statistically, despite what Christian Benford did in that game and has done all year. This is a different test. Can they run back that kind of performance against a division opponent that's had their number? Even if the Bengals have won some games lately, the defense has had the offense's number.
And I think our big hope this time around is that the Bengals offensive line is legitimately good and can give Burrow the time and protection he needs. The Browns have played a lot of man coverage, a lot of single high. It's funneled and forced a lot of vertical shots from Burrow early in the season too, when he's not completely ready to have that timing with his receivers. We've seen early in the season he's just throughout his career he hasn't been the same guy that's later in the year. And right now, is that what it's going to be? Is it going to be hero balls to T. Higgins down the sidelines? Is Newsome playing for the Browns? Actually, I thought he was out recently. But they traded for Campbell. Is that what they traded for? Is that
Tyson
why?
Campbell,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
and
Yeah, yeah.
he's been solid for them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Campbell's been
don't
solid for
think
them. I was gonna say.
I don't think that Newsome. They traded Newsome.
That's right. That's what I was getting to. I was like, where's
Yeah,
Newsome been? Campbell. Right. They traded for
yeah,
Campbell. Campbell's been
yeah.
solid. And it gives them some length and some physicality out there. Ward hasn't been good. He had a great finish to the Steelers game last week where he's get basically 3 fade balls to him and he's covering it each way. So I think you got a little bit of a hope that these receivers can beat these corners with protection up front. It's going to go hand in hand because I think the Browns have just feasted on this Bengals offensive line for too many years now.
I was trying to find the last time the Bengals played an above average pass rush this year,
It's been a
and I
while.
think it's Pittsburgh. Because Buffalo, before Bosa got hurt, Buffalo
Yep.
was an above average pass rush. Buffalo, when the Bengals played the Bills, they were pretty depleted on
Yep.
the defensive front. I think it's probably Pittsburgh in week 11, which was their last bad game as a pass protection unit. New England, slightly below average, just looking at season long rates, and the Bengals were okay in that week 12 game against New England. Before that, it was the Bears, the Jets, the Steelers. So they got the Steelers a couple times, the Packers back in week 6, pretty good. So really, it's been probably since week 11 that they've played a defensive front that can get after you the way Cleveland can get after you. So really going to be interesting to see how much, to use one of our favorite words lately, how much has been a mirage with quality of
Yes.
competition that we've seen lately from the Arizona Cardinals, who aren't good up front, and the Bills that have had their struggles on the
Dolphins too.
defensive side
Can't
of the ball, the
rush.
Dolphins that don't really have a
We
semblance of a
previewed
defense
this
at
as
this point.
well. We talked about this, that they were going to face these teams up until
Yeah,
the Browns that did not have a good pass rush. The O-line better look good. And they did, similar to how we said about them playing inferior opponents or what we believed would be inferior opponents. And it came out that way too. They beat these guys pretty handedly, the Dolphins and the Cardinals. They got to do it again. And I want to, my last point on that is I want to go into the offseason feeling good about this O-line. I already
hmm
do. But how much can you taint that, right? How much can you put a bad taste in my mouth if the Browns go out and just absolutely destroy them? If they make Orlando Brown look terrible, right? And because I think there's already feeling that he's slipping, he's getting worse, he's getting older. All that may be true. Still a quality player. But if Myles Garrett goes out and absolutely destroys him, that's going to carry into the offseason. I would like to avoid that. I would like to avoid talking about offensive line as much as possible. Let's get the Bengals to extend Dalton Risner ASAP. And then let's just have fun in the offseason talking about all the other needs and positions they can attack.
I think left tackle is already a future need that
Sure.
if you had your druthers and you went into the draft without a desperate need to pick Peter Woods or a Caleb Downs or name a play, Sonny Styles, if you like
Right.
Sonny Styles, and we'll watch these guys in the offseason. These are just names at positions that the Bengals are inferior that are talked about in the first round, around where the Bengals will be picking, and that's going to be in the 8 to 12 range, and we can look at that as well. But if you had it your way, and your way, our way, is get to the draft without a desperate need, so you can just pick the best player, well, maybe you could take a tackle
Good.
in the
Yeah.
first round. I don't think the Bengals are going to put themselves in that position, but
Right. I was going to say they may take a tackle because they love tackles. They've always valued tackle, but will they be there where they feel like every hole is filled? Unlikely.
no, that's not the Bengals way. But Orlando Brown has, I am personally not holding a bad performance if that happens against Myles Garrett, against Orlando Brown. That doesn't change my perception of him as a player.
Because it's
He's
Garrett.
always had issues with Myles Garrett. And so if it happens again, okay, you're going to continue to have issues with Myles Garrett. You're like 99% of human
True.
beings playing football, playing professional left tackle in the NFL. All right, it is what it is. We already kind of know what Orlando is. We've seen him play against Myles Garrett forever. I don't think he's ever gotten the better of Myles Garrett in his career.
We can look at the positive side too. Like if they go out and shut down this Browns pass rush and have a game on offense, let's say they carry this, what they've been doing on offense, really, other than that Ravens game. And I've been talking about this too. When you see teams realize they're pretty much eliminated or the quarterback gets hurt, that next week they look terrible. And then they bounce back. These teams start fighting after that once they, get it out of their system. I think the Bengals had that against the Ravens. Other than that, since Burrow's been back, the offense has been fine and good, other than a couple of red zone issues in that first Ravens game. If they could carry that into that Browns game to finish the season against that Browns defense and pass protect, well, which isn't out of the realm of possibility, that could be, looking at the positive side, that could be so much fun going in the offseason.
And that's exactly what it is, right? That's why I'm saying, like, if they get another one of those performances going into the offseason, it just reinforces everything we're thinking about the offseason, which is like, all right, on offense, you don't have much work to do. Get Dalton Risner extended, get some depth in there at wide receiver, figure out your depth at tight end, probably re-signing Drew Sample, figure out a big decision for Chase Brown is something that we're going to talk about, and what direction the Bengals should go with Chase Brown. I think that's one of the more complicated decisions the Bengals have this offseason. A lot of the other decisions should,
simple
as far as their own guys, a lot of the other decisions seem pretty straightforward to me, like extend DJ Turner, extend Dax Hill, pick up the 5th-year option for Myles Murphy, approach him about an extension, see what that talk looks like. If he wants to bet on himself, fine, deal with it next year. Like, these are all things that are pretty straightforward for them. I think the Chase Brown conversation is more complicated because of the nature of the running back position. On the other side of the ball, the Browns offense has been terrible. They have Joel Bitonio. We'll see if Harold Fannin plays. He had, a groin injury that he had in practice last week that he aggravated during the game. We'll see if he can play. Shedeur Sanders, I've been avoiding the Shedeur Sanders content all year. I don't think he's been good outside of one game against the Vegas Raiders. And now he has a chance against another really bad defense on paper that has been statistically much better since the bye. Would like to see the defense finish by shutting down another bad offense here.
Yeah.
And that's the expectation for me this week. Figure out a way to deal with Harold Fannin if he plays, and then go get after Shedeur Sanders and make him look like a bad player.
Yeah, he holds the ball. Their offensive line is not good right now and injured. They don't have much of a run game right now. It's Harold Fannin and a couple times a game, Jerry Jeudy, who can still beat you because he's still athletic and runs really good routes when he's locked in. Other than that, they don't have a lot to really scare you and beat you with. And we'll see if Fannin even plays, right? Because he came down weird in that last game and had to leave the game. But it's not a good offense. It is on par or even subpar compared to the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals have a lot. I mean, they have better weapons at receiver, at tight end. They can get to some running backs that can at least do some things. Jacoby Brissett at 21 touchdowns and 7 picks. Like, that's a better passing offense than what Shedeur, who ranks pretty much bottom of the league in every category so far. And maybe he will be good. This is part of their evaluation. They need to know, because they're going in the draft and they're likely picking between like 5 and 7. So they need to figure out where they're going to be. And if they are in a position to take quarterback, they really haven't taken the reins off of Shedeur, though, either. So they play almost like they believe he's not good. And it's hard to win football games. Right. Shocking. It's hard to win football games. Even in that Raiders game, they had a couple of schemed and deep throws and then like peeled it all back. He really didn't do much the rest of the game, and they kind of protected him. But when they lost Judkins, I feel like that was a big hit to their offense. He was playing really well.
Yeah.
He and Henderson, both the Ohio State running backs, I think have had great rookie years. Sucks to see him hurt his ankle the way he did. It might affect him into next year, but that offense, you should take advantage of this. You should be able to, even if the Bengals offense isn't as clean, efficient, and explosive as they've been recently, they may not have to be. They may just need to score 20 points in this type of game to win comfortably.
And that's what Zach was talking about in his presser that we listened to right before we started recording. He was asked a couple of times, like, hey, how nice would it be to see the offense go out there and do it again? And he's like, I just want to get a win. Like, not like, yeah, it'd be great if we, that's our expectation. That's our stand. None of that. Downplaying expectations a little bit, not drawing extra attention. I think knowing Myles Garrett is over there is part of that. Here's a number of ranks for the Cleveland Browns as a team. PFF team ranks, and take PFF for what it's worth, but this is end of season overall ranks for a team. Their passing grade as a team, second worst in the NFL, ahead of only the Minnesota Vikings by 0.2. It's 48.8 to 48.6. Their pass blocking grade, dead last in the NFL, and it's like not even close. The Chargers and Cowboys are down there too, and those teams have been wildly injured on the offensive line. So the worst pass blocking team in the NFL. We got the second worst receiving grade in the NFL, ahead of only the New York Jets.
No weapons.
You got the second worst running grade in the NFL, which I think is largely a product of the running opportunities they've had. They're and always
Judkins missed that first month, right? So he misses the first month last month. It's going to have an effect.
And finally, they are seventh worst in run blocking grade in the NFL. The Bengals actually fifth worst in run blocking grade. This is something that I think has been better for them lately too. On the other side of things, they've got the second highest graded overall defense in the NFL. They've got the top graded run defense overall in the NFL, the seventh highest tackling grade, the top pass rushing grade, obviously. Not as strong in coverage, but kind of middle of the pack, 14th in coverage in the NFL, and a battle of two of the better special teams.
Yeah.
According to PFF in the NFL, third and fifth, the Bengals third, the Browns fifth. But the reason that I bring that up is just this offense. You talk about how bad the Arizona offense is, and I think I saw someone reply to something you posted saying like all I can think about. I think it was your Bengals on the Brain video this week. One of the comments was like, all I could think about while I was watching this is that this is the worst offense I've ever seen.
It was bad on tape. It was,
but the Arizona Cardinals are better than the Browns in every single one of these categories by a fair margin, according to PFF grading, for whatever that's worth, right? And so we had an offense that was bad, but like relatively functional. And this week we're seeing a Browns team that has been this year like Jake Browning levels of dysfunctional, if you remember those three games and you haven't scrubbed them from your memory.
I have scrubbed them from my memory, but until you mentioned the Vikings being one of the worst passing teams, and I was like, we lost to that passing team, one of the worst losses in Bengals history, if not the worst. But what also jogged me when you said they're ranked so high against the run, Carson Schwarzenegger could be defensive rookie of the year. He's been really good, man. Second round pick. We mentioned Bush at linebacker, but he's been a very good player, athlete, diagnosis super quick, fires super quick, has been just all around for them.
Yeah, their linebackers have been good.
Yeah.
That whole defense is playing reasonably well. You can take advantage, I think, of these corners, which, on paper, these corners have held up against the Bengals. And every time they play, I say the same thing. Like, we'll see if it's another one of those games. This is a game where you feel like you should be able to find the matchups. You should be able to get there, but they do a good job in a scheme that, it's the old football saying. I guess it's not old. Maybe it's relatively new, or maybe it's just like relatively new in the zeitgeist. But when you're facing a complicated offense, you keep it simple. When you're facing a simple offense, you make it complicated. Jim Schwartz does a really good job of matching that aspect of defensive play calling for the Bengals and makes it hard for Joe Burrow and keeps him just off balance enough to keep them guessing a little bit. And that's part of why this has been a hard matchup, on top of the fact that it's just like Myles Garrett just makes things a lot easier for every single defensive play caller in the world.
I think Grant Delpit seems to have his best games against the Bengals too. Like when I watch other games, he's just a guy, and then we try to attack him, or he makes a play, or he reads whatever Burrow's doing super quick and gets to the ball. And I'm like, how? He doesn't do this normally. And they've just been a thorn in the side. But similarly, like we were talking about with these previous teams, the Bengals should be better than them. Like if we're fully healthy all year, are we picking 3, 4, 5 slots away from the Browns? No, they should be more like 10 slots away from the Browns. And it shouldn't be that close. And they should be fine at home, finishing this year on a high note. But yeah, something about them always creates such a challenge for us.
This is one of the best defenses in the NFL.
No doubt.
Like just straight up. In every statistical category, this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're driven by an excellent pass rush, and they've got good second level play. They've got good enough safety play. They've got good enough corner play. The pass rush brings it all together for them, obviously. And that's why we're harping on the pass rush this week. On the defensive side of the ball, though, like there are some guys that we're really watching closely. Can the linebackers continue to play at a slightly below average level, making some plays here and there? You did your Bengals on the Brain episode this week on Barrett Carter and Demetrius Knight's weeks, and it was their most productive week. There's still some blemishes, obviously,
but they're cut down, right? The bad plays are just getting trimmed down slowly, and they're starting to make some splash plays, which is nice.
And there is progress there. The worry then is that the takeaway for the team is going to be, we spent second and fourth round picks here last year. What do you mean
we're the starters?
Improve the linebacker room? It's you guys. And you know what, man? If they do that and they make serious improvements on the defensive line and at safety, maybe you can live with that.
You can sell me. If they go get the best safety in free agency, one of the best DNs, or even if they came to an agreement on a 2-year deal with Trey Hendrickson and then got another pass rusher or a corner and they said, we want to go strong there. Yeah, and draft Peter Woods with that, I'd say, you know what? Okay, fine. I get it. The linebackers, let's hope they get better.
Wouldn't be ideal. We're not saying that this is a good idea. We'd still like to see a veteran linebacker. There's a reason that I mentioned Devin Bush's free agency coming up. Like if you could get a guy that you felt really good about, these linebackers play a lot in this defense. They use a lot of the 3 linebacker looks more than they have in the past. It's kind of the direction the NFL is going. It's putting heavier packages on the field.
Chanel is such a great fit, man. I'm going to keep saying his name every time because he can be an edge type guy for you when you want to rotate and kick and reduce and kick that down.
Stop putting Demetrius Knight on the line of scrimmage, for the love of God. Yeah. So we would still like to see the Bengals sign a linebacker, even if they do all these other things, just to clarify that stance. It's not.
Someone's going to say something in the comments. Now they don't need a linebacker. Here you go. Let them off the hook.
They already said it. Like, you guys are buying this defense dead cap out. Like, no, man. I'm not losing my mind again like I did on the
We're just not closing our eyes. Some people I feel like have just closed their eyes. They don't want to watch it. Fine. But there's things happening on the field. Yeah. There is progress. We haven't been able to talk about actual tangible development for years. Yeah. But the O-line is developing. Players on the defense, young players are developing finally. And that's the reason why Lou is gone, right? Is to get Golden was sold as he's going to develop these guys. He's going to fast track them. We lost the fast track part. But if Turner is now a good player, if Dax is a good player, if Myles Murphy is now a good player, that's big. Those are huge components. You can't be a championship level team and have premium picks you spend on defense be MIA completely. And that's what they were dealing with last year. So now, if that's changed and the offensive and you have the right offensive line coach, I'm telling you, if they can develop players, I feel so much better about this coaching staff with their warts than I would have if you asked me after week 5.
Yeah. I think no doubt. And the development that we've seen, like I've always thought that I've liked Chuck Burks for a while as their corners coach. The development that we've seen from some of these other guys, even if it is going from like unplayable to just bad, like that's still something. As you point out, rookie linebackers generally don't play in the NFL. Having that experience should really help. It's not going to cover up for the physical limitations that Barrett Carter has in changing direction, the stiffness that he has, but your awareness and seeing things and understanding what offenses are trying to do to you should lead to more of what we saw from them against the Cardinals, where they're not biting up on play action quite as bad as they have, as consistently as they have. There's still a play here or there where Demetrius Knight gets lost a little bit, but it's happening less. And the other side of that is they're making plays more often. We need to see them do what Myles did, get more physical, start taking on blocks, getting off blocks, and they're going to really be assisted by a great game from TJ Slayton, as you pointed out in that Bengals on the Brain video really too.
Yeah.
And that's part of like, get another guy that can help you on the defensive front, on the interior, get another guy who can rush the passer out there. But
I think another point though that like shouldn't be forgotten over this final stretch is that they've gotten and found roles for players that they couldn't use before. DJ Ivey, Jalen Davis, right? Those are marks of a good defense or at least a coaching staff that can evaluate and get guys in the right spots, right? Getting Jalen Davis, who's been a career practice squad, sometimes back end of the roster, final 3 guys on your roster type player to actually be a helpful part of the defense. DJ Ivey, he played a ton on covering tight ends last week. He did good. And then they had to kick him out the boundary when the backups were in, and he had 2 deep balls, defended both of them. I'm like, that's a 7th round pick that nobody liked as a prospect that really hasn't shown a lot. He's had flashes, had moments. He had a bad knee injury, but he's playable. You can use him as depth. That goes a long way. That helps you building your team and focusing. It was tear it all down. You have 11 holes on defense too. Oh, maybe it's only 3 or 4. That's manageable. We can do that in the offseason.
3 or 4 feels a little generous. Just going to say. I know it's not as bad.
How many is it really, though? I mean, like free safety, right?
So if we're really going
hard, like we want a top 10 defense.
Yeah, okay. Like I'm talking slot corner, I'm talking safety, I'm talking 2 linebackers. There's 4 already. I need a defensive tackle. I need a pass rusher. There's 6.
Yep.
I need a pass rushing end. There's 6 if you really want to say like guys that you could, because Myles is a great 2. I'm not there yet on Myles as the 1.
Agreed.
Right? I love the progress he's made.
You need 3 DNs to start.
And Osai would be another one. Great 2. So if you had Myles and Osai again next year, and you had Trey, and Trey was healthy, you feel pretty good about their ends at that point. I would still,
especially with what they're doing with Shemar, bunch of 5 tech, 3 tech.
And then you got Shemar developing, right? Then you feel pretty good about that group. But that's not their likely path. Their likely path is Myles and Shemar, and maybe they get a veteran.
I don't like that.
Maybe they spend another draft.
They got a lot of money to spend.
Yeah, we said that last year too. The expectations are high for the Bengals. It should be a very clear-cut path. Last year, we thought expectations were pretty high for the offseason too. They didn't meet those expectations. We will get there in some offseason conversation. Let's quickly check out some of the tape that we have to talk about here from Shemar Stewart, from Myles Murphy, some of the progress that they're making. And this should be another week. Like Joel Bitonio is the only guy.
Yep.
I know Wyatt Teller's still playing. He's not what he once was. He's fine. He's never been the better pass blocker. He's always been more of a run blocker than a pass blocker. But like Cam Robinson, not playing well at left tackle.
Yep.
KT Leviston,
right tackle,
playing right tackle for the Browns. He was drafted 255th.
One of the worst
in 2024. And then their center, Luke Whippler.
Yeah. Weipler, I think it is, but yeah.
Weipler. Okay. He's been playing the last few weeks for them.
Yeah.
Not great. Better pass blocker than run blocker, apparently. Most centers turn out that way. But there are opportunities across this offensive line, or across the trenches, I guess you could say, for ends to win, especially this week. That was the case last week too. Really bad Arizona tackles. We'll like to see them run that back a little bit this week. And what's interesting, as you were talking about it, we can take a look at this first play here. This is a cut up from Bengals and Brews. Is that right? So credit to Bengals and Brews here. Shemar Stewart played a lot of this 3 tech, 4 eye.
Yeah, he's shaded inside. Alignment. Yep.
And it was interesting to see how much he played inside last week. And they just decided, you know what, we're just going to put all of our ends on the field, because they put Cam Sample, Myles Murphy, and Cedric Johnson on the field too. And it was interesting to see how they were choosing to use Shemar inside a little bit more. And the bull rush that I mentioned immediately after the game, I thought he had the sack, obviously. I thought his bull rush was effective a few times. And here's one of those where it's good displacement on that center.
Yeah,
what else
for
stood
sure.
out to you?
No, I agree. I thought the bull rush was good. There's a couple too where he fails to get much push, and it's only because of he's not low enough that I'm like, oh man, because you see him initially lift up some linemen and then they anchor and they're good because he's not low enough. He's too high. He's only 6'4" and some change. He's not the tallest guy. I know he's super long. So if his head is above some 6'6" tackle, well, you're not playing high enough. And so you saw that a few times, something that it looks like Montgomery's really been harping on him whenever we get some audio of them at practices or camps. But that's like the big thing to fix is his bull rush could be absolutely nasty if you can get him to play with good hand usage and leverage.
Yeah. And I think that you're seeing some progress. Like these are not great players that he's going against, and these aren't games that are meaningful, but
Right there, that's the
he,
play. Like that should have been a clear throw that guy on his butt type play, and his head is just too high. He's just too high.
but if that's where he is now,
Right.
if
You
you
can
can
get him
continue
there.
to actually get him some development, like that's a Cedric Johnson hold play, right? And
Yep.
I think Shemar Stewart was also held on that play. And a
Mhm.
lot of this is just good power. And you take that from him at this point. You take the versatility from him at this point. You take that we're seeing some flashes. Has this been an ideal rookie year for Shemar Stewart? Of course not. But he's on the team. He's going to be on the team for the next 3-4 years at least. And he's going to be playing a lot next year. He was a first round pick. If he
And he
stays healthy,
looks
he's going to play.
usable, right? Like this doesn't look like a guy who lacks the athleticism, especially when you kick him inside. Like when you kick him inside, he looks bursty and quick. He looks dangerous. I bet guards are like, man, I've really got to get upfield here or get my kick slide much quicker. Like that player right there. That guy's going
Yeah.
to rush upfield on me if I don't get out here quick. That is playable. You want him to be D lineman number 4 on that, when it's Cedric Johnson out there and Cam Sample, you're like, oh, we're not getting much more out of this. It's got to be Shemar getting the pass rush here. So you got to build it up around him so that he can be a guy that is, used to an advantage or picking his spots rather than, man, we really need him to win because no one out there is really providing it.
I like the versatility aspect of it too, that he's winning from different spots.
Yeah.
And we'll just have to see how that development continues over the course of the rest of the year. I like also he's probably the most aggressive at trying to bat passes of any guy on this
I feel
defense.
like
Like
lately there was a while there. They weren't putting their hands up at all.
it's notice his length is noticeable there is
No doubt.
probably what it is because the window like there are a couple plays if you want to rewind if you're watching this you can rewind and see a couple of plays where he actually tries to jump into the passing window. He just gets in that window, like the vertical explosions there, the length shows up there, and maybe that's all it is. Also wanted to take a look a little bit at some Myles Murphy because thought Myles he's just kind of always interesting to watch right now. And he's playing pretty much exclusively outside, but you're seeing the burst of physicality, all of the tools that we knew Myles Murphy had in his bag. You're seeing these on an increasingly consistent basis. The confidence is building for him. And again, like if he can get to one of those D line pro camps that, pass rusher summit kind of thing and get some work on his hands, like the offseason work, if he just focuses all of that on hand usage, he could be a nice player for them next year. He could take
I
another step.
mean, if his hands take a step, he goes from nice player to impact player, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's really what it is for him now, because I think his awareness is where it should be now for, snaps played. He's recovered from his first 2 years there. I think his power, his intensity has matched an NFL level, which is great. Now it's refining those hands. And he's still one of the younger players on the defense. They drafted him really young. That's why you do that. So that in year 3, 4, and 5, now we like an impact year 1 and 2, don't get me wrong, but you still have these guys for 3, 4 years. Everyone's trying to cut these guys if they're 1 year, 2 year. You can't cut them. They're still developing. They're still under contract. And it's nice to go from Shemar to watch Myles because that gives you an idea of what it can look like. Myles didn't have a ton of moves either when he came in. And like it was the long arm we would talk about. Now you see him with a 2-hand swipe or rip move, or right there we saw a spin a second ago. Like that's the evolution you're probably expecting for Shemar Stewart. And maybe the staff will play these guys more and fast track that type of development that's required. You need the snaps to develop. We said this, I think every time we talked about Myles in previous years and people will get upset. It's like, you need to play them. It's so hard to know what these guys are if you don't play them, especially when they're labeled developmental or project type draft picks, which when they were picked, that's what they were.
Want to see them continue to show those flashes here in week 18. Any other thoughts on this game, Joe? I mean, what else are we looking for here? I think we've
Draft
covered our
positioning.
bases. Yeah, draft positioning. That's the last
Yeah.
one. Let's talk about draft positioning. This was a pretty cool graphic that we can share here. Pretty cool work here though from Doug Analytics. Just want to make sure we see the logo in the top right Doug Analytics, and you retweeted this, Joe, on Wednesday. You can see the Bengals' range here is from pick 8 to pick 12. They are mathematically in a position where they can't go to 13. That would be a tiebreaker potentially with Tampa,
Mhm.
or I guess some other teams, because Tampa can pick all the way down to 11. But um, Bengals, I think it's only Tampa. Bengals
It's
can't
Tampa.
pick
Yeah.
13 anymore,
Mhm.
but they can pick from 12 to 8. I've been saying 12 for a while. Has looked like the most likely. If they lose, they probably are picking
It's
8.
between 6 and 8.
There's a chance they're
I mean,
picking
8 and 10. I'm sorry, 8 and 10, yes.
yeah, there's a chance they're picking 8. There's a chance they're picking 9, chance they're picking 10. Uh, Kansas City plays the Raiders, so the Raiders are tanking hard. The Raiders are probably going to manage to lose
Oh,
to
I
the
see on
Chiefs.
the left side there is what is expected then. So they've
Yeah,
got
that's
it's
the
gonna ends up
average
getting
pick.
yeah. So Saints, Dolphins, Chiefs, Bengals.
Yeah,
So Chiefs 1 pick ahead. You know, take a love
yeah.
there, take the running back. We're not interested. Go ahead.
Are we not interested?
I mean, he's really good, but I just mean if that's what it's got to be, don't take a guy we want.
That'll be an off-season episode with my locked on co-host James Rapine, who
No doubt.
uh, I'm sure will love
He would like a
Jeremiah Love.
running back, wide receiver, and tight end. I'm saying this now because if I said this to him, it'd be a half-hour conversation.
Oh yeah, I this will be a longer conversation another day. I'm all about picking BPA, and that's great and everything. I don't think this offense can be a whole lot better than it is by
I,
adding
I
a
agree.
great offensive player. Like, you can get better for sure. Can't get much better than the offense we're seeing when these guys are healthy right now.
Mhm.
And people are gonna probably get mad at that, but um, marginal improvements possible. Anyway, as we can see here, the biggest likelihood for the Bengals is going to be pick 11. That's 60% nearly, according to the 50,000 simulations here, 25.5% chance they're picking 12. We're watching, of course, Atlanta. We're watching Miami to a lesser degree, but
Yep.
I think it's primarily Atlanta, New Orleans, which I think that game is after the Bengals play, or maybe it's at the same time the Bengals play. Whatever
That
it
is
is,
a
it's not
Sunday
happening.
game. Yeah, Sunday. I think
It's
there was one of them that's that same time, and the Chiefs Raiders game is 4:30. So
Yeah, so there won't be any additional information before the Bengals play. There's one game on Saturday that was a small impact. I
yeah,
think
it
maybe
doesn't matter. Just
Tampa.
strength of schedule
Yeah,
potential.
and that one didn't matter anymore. So
Nope.
we're really just watching on Sunday. And a lot of people are thinking, like, man, if they could have just tanked a couple of games, where would they be picking? Well, if they were 2 wins worse, they would be in the New Orleans range, right?
Yes.
They'd be had the same record as New Orleans. So you'd be talking about a pick from 8 to, I guess New Orleans can also pick all the way down to 11.
Yeah, because they have 6 wins right now. So if New Orleans wins and a lot of these teams behind them lose, they could drop to 11.
Oh, the 2 4-win teams, is that
Where
the
there's no
Browns
5-win
and
teams. Yeah.
no
So
5-win teams. So 4-win
correct.
teams with the Browns and the Commanders?
And we have a higher strength of schedule than all of them, so we would be behind them.
Right. So you'd be looking at a range. If the Bengals had lost all of their games, you'd be looking at a range, I think, of 6 to 9,
Yeah, 6 to
probably, or
8
6 to
probably.
8, 6 to
Yep.
8. Yeah, 6 to 8. They would
Because the
currently
Dolphins would
picking
have
8.
another win because that we lost to them.
Yeah, it'd be 6 to 8 if the Bengals had lost their final 3 games instead of potentially winning their final 3 games. So it could be a difference of pick 6 all the way to pick 12.
Yep.
Could be a difference of only pick 8 to pick 12, or pick 8 to pick 11. And that's what we're looking at here in the
And
final
right
week.
now, so if you're thinking, because I do think, what if they get up 14-21? What if this game runs away when we get backups playing again for the third straight week? I don't think that's crazy if it happened. Or if the Bengals want to just go out, offense looks good, pull the plug, let's start, looking at the next year. You do see teams kind of handle week 18 a little bit differently. The difference here in this game, if they lose, they could pick between 8 and 10. If they win, they could pick between 10 and 12, depending on what the other teams do. So
Yeah.
is it a huge gap? If they just want to go out and finish the game, they could still pick 10th and win this game, depending on what these other teams do. So, you just kind of handle your business and live with what you get.
Yeah. And the Bengals are never an organization that organizationally tanks. Obviously, no players or coaches are tanking.
No, because that comes top down.
Yeah, that's like, we're shutting down Max Crosby. That's how you tank. We're shutting down anyone who's maybe a little bit hurt. Bengals have never really been a team to do that.
We got Charlie Jones and Joseph Osai hurt for a month, and we can't, not elevating Antoine Powell-Ryland. Like, that's tanking. That's trying to see these guys play.
Yeah. Well, and Osai's trying to get back this week. Charlie's trying to get back this week if they can. Joseph Osai, I know John Sheeran has been talking about he has a big sack incentive. If he can play this week and get one sack and a good week to get a sack, and Joseph Osai, should be some sacks out there to be had for the Bengals. Will be disappointing if there aren't. And we'll be with you here after the game to talk about the sacks that do or do not happen as the Bengals take on the Browns at home to finish up this regular season in what should have been season still frustrating. Can't get out of an episode without being frustrated, which should have been a tune-up for the playoffs, and instead is a tune-up for whatever the Bengals have planned in the offseason. Make sure you're with us.
Momentum to the offseason, Jake.
Yeah, that's fake. Make sure you join us for the post-game show. You'll have a chance to win that Nintendo Switch courtesy of First Star Logistics. Again, if you're looking for work in the Cincinnati area, First Star Logistics has been a great partner for Joe and myself and could be a great partner for you. They're looking to expand their brokerage department. You can see all the job postings right now over at firststarlogistics.com, one of the fastest growing companies in the Cincinnati area, one of the greatest companies to work for in the Cincinnati area as well. So make sure you're checking out those job postings. Make sure you're back with us for the post-game show for another chance at that Nintendo Switch. Until the post-game show, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us here all year on the First Star Logistics Jake and Joe Bengals preview show. And until Sunday, have a good one.